Hello folks, and welcome to Tippcast with myself, Shane Stapleton, joined by Gary Toohey of Clubber, and in the middle there, Shane Brophy of the Nina Guardian. But a reminder that the Nina Guardian is out now, so if you want to get any of your coverage of Tipperary GA and Tipperary life in general, no better place now. It's available in local shops. Shane, it was another dramatic weekend in Tipperary hurling at the weekend. What would be the first thing? We're going to do it group by group, but what was the most dramatic thing you saw this weekend?
Dramatic, I suppose. Driving back in the car and hearing Brendan Maher stick the ball in the top corner of the net. About just as I was driving back, I was coming back from Semple Stadium, and I was nearly driving past McDonough Park when the commentary was on that if he stuck the ball in the top corner, so I was nearly home, so just mental, to think that Boris Lee, it would have been a devastating loss to throw up a 10-point halftime advantage to lose, but Brendan sort of conjured up some of the magic of 2019 with the goal, and it just sums up the I would say the magic of the Tipp Championships at the moment, because all three grades are so even. And I know maybe, I don't know, does it highlight maybe the rude health of a county, maybe unlike Waterford or Limerick or Kenny, to have a dominant club team, but I think there's something there's something exciting with the fact that all three grades are so open. I think anywhere up to 7 teams, I think, can win the senior. I think somewhere up to 6, I think I would have in the running for the Premier Intermediate. I think up to 4 or 5 can win the Intermediate. And it just shows that for all the maybe fighting we had a few years ago, maybe over delinking or decoupling grades, that it's actually worked out for the best.
Gary, what was your highlight of the weekend?
It was Dennis Kelly sitting beside me calling Brendan Maher Lazarus. Jesus. As a whole, it was a double header in Nina, lads. Jesus, I think that was the best double header I've ever been to in Nina. Ross Gray causing that shock over Killerwan. Before the game, word came out that Killerwan had a full strength team to choose from. And I thought it'd be a routine win for Killerwan. And it was up until 25 minutes, Killerwan were in full control. And then Shane Fletcher just decided to start hurling. He completely changed the game. And then Brendan, that goal, Jesus, the whole country's nearly talking about this week, which is great. And just to touch on Shane's point there, I think it is by far the best club championship as a whole, senior, Premier Intermediate in the whole country in both codes. There are 22 of the 24 games in round 3 have something riding on them. I don't think any other county in the country can say that going into their last round of games any time of the year. So no, just an unbelievable weekend. So I think for round 3 we're going to need a Gillette hurling Saturday or something like that. Jeff Stelling's out of a job at the moment, so we might give him a shout and Clubber there in a few weeks' time.
So Shane, we'll start off with the first round, and Nina getting a 5-15 to 1-15 victory over JK Brackens. Hugely impressive without 2 of their star forwards, Jake Morris and Tommy Heffernan.
Yeah, no, I think this is a notable win for Nina now. I know they might look at it, I think it's Brackens. Brackens are probably struggling a small bit this year, but I think for Nina to score 5-15 without their 2 best scoring forwards from play, I think it just says a lot about the mentality within the group, that there's no feeling sorry for themselves. There's a key player or 2 missing. It's just, okay, we'll plow on. And look, it wasn't the prettiest game. First half, very free-ridden. Nina were very reliant on Mikey Heffernan in the first half for scores, got a great goal, went up 1-9-6 at half-time. But we're facing into a stiff breeze in the second half. So it wasn't a huge lead. Got a penalty at the start of the second half, which pushed it out to 9. You thought, okay, they'll be comfortable here. But first, the Brackens, they came back. Their hard-running style got them back into it. They mainly through frees, but they got it back to within 3 points. But then Nina were always able to pick off goals when they needed. I thought Adam Carey at full forward was just a handful all day. Got a brilliant goal. He won the penalty as well. Their subs bench, Ben West and Keane Crowley, were very good. Ben West, particularly against the tyrant half back line, just got on the ball and ran. So he was very good. And look, I thought, I suppose, for Brackens, the only plus point was Paddy Cadell coming on in the second half after 43 minutes. Great to see him back after 6 months out. Looked very, very lean now. Just looked like a guy that has used the last 6 months to maybe get his. You wouldn't say he was he was always inter-county fit, but he just looks leaner now, especially around the leg areas. Like, so I think he if he gets a good pre-season under his belt, I think he could have a great chance for big help to Tipp next year. And look, I thought the plus for me for Nina, I thought was Sam O'Farrell in the middle of the field. I thought he was unbelievably good. Like, we've seen him play in defence for the Tipp Miners and corner back for all the games this year for Nina, but they moved him out to the middle of the field on Sunday or Saturday, and I thought he was brilliant. Just the way he stood up to, like, there was a lot of big hits in that game, and he got a couple of big challenges off the Brackens lads, but he stood up every time, and it's so intelligent. Like, Nina sort of are very, they don't panic on the ball, they use it very well, and he just kept doing the thing right. And he also picked off 2 brilliant long range points, particularly one in the second half when they were slightly under pressure from long range, and you just felt it, and they kicked on from that. So look, I think in the context of who they were missing, I think it was a very, very good win for Nina Aero.
Yeah, and like making that change with Sam O'Farrell, he had it tough against Drum with Tommy Nolan. So, you know, I like that in the management team where they're willing to make the big changes. Gary, do you believe in Nina this year? So it's only 1995 since they've had a county title.
I do. They were my favourites for the county before Jake got injured. Obviously, with the injury then, I kind of had him down maybe 3 or 4. But, like, Jake stood up in the first 2 games, obviously. Tommy stood up then against Drum with 1-5 in play. And then the last day, as you said, Sam was unbelievable in the middle of the park. And to touch on Shane's point there as well, this Nina management team, they're not afraid to tinker at all. And it's great. Like, Conor Hennessy, I thought for the first 2 or 3 games was unbelievable. He was very quiet now at the weekend. Sam O'Farrell really stood up in the middle of the park. But I have to say on Ben West, if there was a man in the match just for the second half, Ben would have got it hands down. And he was only on the field maybe 15, 20 minutes. He completely changed the game. The one left wing forward there underneath the stand completely changed the game. And a lad who was oozing talent, like, he's been dropped for the last few games. I'd say he was really shoving up the lads' throats there starting the next day. And then look, Keane Crowley, young fella, come off the bench, finished his goal very well. But Adam Carey has to get a big mention as well. He was an absolute nuisance inside all day. He scored a goal. I have it here. He scored a goal, but he set up a couple of scores as well. But no, I'm firmly back in the Nina camp. I'd have them, probably making a bold statement here now, but I'd have them number 1 because I'm presuming Jake will be back for the knockout. They'd be my favourites for the county at the moment.
Yeah, we're going to have Shane's power rankings round 2 soon enough, so there'll be some good old rowing over that. The other game in the group then, Drum and Inch beating Mullinahone 321-219. That's 2 wins from 2 for Drum. They're looking fairly smooth at the moment, Shane.
Yeah, no, look, look, we all know the players they have in their team, like, so, like, they're I'd say they're ticking over nicely now. Like, I thought that was a potential banana skin. In terms of, like, I don't think there was ever a chance that Drum would run away with it, but I thought Mullinahone would keep it tight. And I think from Mullinahone's point of view, they'd be disappointed with maybe the nature of some of the goals they conceded. And look, they really came back strong in their closing stages, but they had too much of a deficit. But look, no, I suppose Drum into a quarter final as a top seed, like, so. I suppose their last match against Bracken is a dead rubber, which probably isn't a help, really. I think ideally they'd love to have had something at stake, because, like, it's 5 weeks to a quarter final for them. So, but I'm sure they'll probably put out a full strength team and try and keep lads ticking over. But I thought another one, like, he was very good in the first match, Tommy Nolan, another 1-3 performance. Like, I think I mentioned him last week, or in terms of maybe a new guy to come in, because Liam Cahill would have known him from minor levels, and I always thought at minor level he just had that something. He's a sort of a Bubbles vibe about him, a bit of a free spirit, and he's that's 2 games in a row now. He's after putting in big performances. So from that point of view, good for him, good for Drum. Same as Callan, very good. Johnny Ryan, very good. So look, we all know, like, Drum have a very deep panel. When you look at the likes Tony Cahill or Tipp under 20 can't even get a starting perk. So we just know that, like, their second team is playing intermediate. So, like, there's loads of talent there. It's just about, I suppose, getting them to play to a consistently high level every day to go out.
Yeah, like, how big of a blow is that for Mullinahone, Gary? I mean, to go 10 behind is not ideal, but at least they turned it around and brought it back to 5.
They are, but, like, I suppose they're probably everyone's favourites to go down from senior start of the year. But, like, I tell you, they've like, for a club, I suppose, that they don't have a big strength and depth in the panel. Like, I was very surprised with that scoreline. And again, look, I was very surprised the scoreline against the Bracken. So I wouldn't be writing them off in the last day against Toon now at all. But, like, I just reckon this Drum team, there's something about them. They're probably flatter received the last couple of years, but they're a really nice young panel. But they've got a perfect mix of Shamey and Johnny Ryan there as well. And that's the difference. I can kind of compare Drum and Toon very similarly. They both got very young panels, very young teams, savage quality, but Toon are probably lacking that Shamey Cannon and Johnny Ryan. They're like a bit of experience. But look, I think this year will be too soon for this Drum team, but Jesus, I wouldn't be writing them off at all. Like they're creeping along nicely, and they're not winning games by 10, 15 points or anything. You know, they're getting plenty of tests as well. And no, I've been very impressed. Surprisingly enough, very impressed with them so far this year.
Yeah, so going into the last round as well, Shane, I know we're obviously going to preview it a little bit more when we get to it. Like, you see any way that Brackens can get themselves, a victory here? They're on minus 19 score difference already.
Well, I suppose it doesn't really matter for Brackens.
Yeah.
They're out. Like they can't. They will be beaten on the head-to-head by Nina and Mullinahone. So, look, I suppose it's still a big game for Brackens. But like they would need to find some bit of form going into the relegation semi-finals. Look, I think, talent-wise, I think they should be fine. I think they have enough talent to extricate themselves to stay up. And I suppose, look, give Paddy Cadell hopefully another month to get up to speed. Like, I'm sure he'll be starting by a relegation semi-final. I think they'll be fine. But like Nina and Mullinahone, it's a winner takes all for second place. I suppose more pressure on Mullinahone because like they have to win. Nina have the preliminary quarter final to fall back on. But I do think if Nina might have the two boys back for a fortnight's time. If they do, I do think Nina probably are a step ahead of Mullinahone at the moment. But then you go to these lads like where Mullinahone really have to win the game. Like we saw maybe last weekend where maybe a team really had to win and they really surprised us and they produced a big performance. So I'm not writing off Mullinahone in the slightest, but if I was to call it now, I'd say Nina to probably shade it.
Yeah, like after two games and move on to Group 2, McCarthy Burrs drawn one, lost another one here by a point. So they've obviously, doing relatively well, but it's got to be very frustrating for them, Gary, losing here 122-24 against Toomey Varrick. Such fine margins.
Yeah, and thinking about this McCarthy team, I keep saying it, they're like just a really good yardstick. They're a really good senior club team, but they're missing those couple of quality players to go to the next level. Like that draw against Roscrea, they threw the game away in the last few minutes. They could have beat Toomey Vara, who are just on a real upward curve at the moment. I was very impressed on Friday night, but like again, loads of wides, and probably not enough, I suppose, scoring threat from play up front in either. Kiwi was very good again on the freeze, and he brings players into play a lot, very, very well. I thought Kyle Shelley was probably poor enough by his own standards. They need him to stand up every day. But again, they're just missing that small bit of quality to go to the next level. So yeah, I'd say they're fierce at the point. But again, I wouldn't write him off down the last round either, though.
Yeah, Shane, Darren McCarthy performs from him 1-7, 1-4 that from play.
Yeah, he looks a talent, doesn't he? He's very good against Kilruane, and 1-7, I think 1-4 from play at the weekend. There's something electric about him. He's like usually sometimes maybe a guy would come into that first year at adult level, and they're maybe a little, I wouldn't say fearful, but a small bit cautious. How will I go in with the big boys? And he's just taken to this like ducks to water. He's been fantastic. The way he took his goal against McCarthy just took off. Just doesn't doubt himself. So he's definitely one to watch. I know he was on the Tipp under 20s this year in his first year, and he's another 2 years of eligibility to go. He's definitely a huge star in the making. But look, another very, very good win for Toomey Vara. This was to build on the Kilruane win, to get another win in a game that was, I was thought it was in around the 50-50 mark, because look, as Gary says, McCarthy, I think McCarthy are sort of in where Holy Cross were for a few years. They just need one of those big breakthrough wins, just to take them on. And they're, as I said, lost by a point through with Roscrea, still with a chance of getting through, different. So they're not out of this in any way. But I suppose they probably need everyone fit at the moment. Like Joe Egan going off after a couple of minutes didn't help. Max Hackett is still only working his way back from the cruciate. He came on, but he came off towards the end, so like he's not 100%. So look, I think my Carkey they're not far away, but they're just lacking that. I think they're lacking out one key player in the forward. Like Kieran Morris is standing up the whole time. I just think that they're lacking one bit of a physical presence in the forward line, just maybe to win a big free or two when they need it under pressure.
Yeah, and Gary, like back to Darren McCarthy there, like where would he rank in terms of the young fellas in Tipp that are coming at the moment?
Oh, he has to be number one at the moment. Like, he's probably the player of the championship overall completely. Like, take Jake away. Jake hasn't played in the county yet. He probably is a player of the championship so far. Like, Jesus, that score he got underneath the sideline. He went right, he came left, on his left-hand side, off balance, straight over the black spot. And then his goal, like, he's paced to burn. Like, I'm completely an odd young fella. And, like, I think I've done 30-something games this year for Glover, and by far, he's the best hurler I've seen. Yeah, another 2 years under 20, like, it's frightening. And like the thing about Dara is, like, he's always been a really good underage player, but like you're growing up, you had Jason and all these lads playing minor, big talk about him. There's no been real big talk about Dara growing up, but all of a sudden this year he's just taken the whole championship by storm. And like, you had Jack Delaney again for a 2 on Friday night. Jack was probably very poor by his own standards, but he still picked off 3 points in play after getting 2-5 against Killerwan. They've loads of talent, this Toon team. Like, keep saying it, they're probably missing 1 or 2 real kind of big, I suppose, senior quality players in the sense of like Joey came off the bench, big plus to have him there. But I think in the next 2 or 3 years, Toomer back in that sense. This year probably comes a bit too soon for him, but she is not Dara's class. And look, if there's young player of the year being thrown out now, he has it. Like.
And did you get much flack a couple of weeks ago from people after saying Toom wouldn't win the county this year?
No, actually, surprisingly enough, I'm not as big a profile as you two, so no, I don't get any abuse as of yet, but I still don't think they will. But as I'm saying, if they're going to bookies for the next 2 or 3 years back to win a county final, I cannot see him not winning one the next 2 or 3 years if they keep going the way they're going on an upward curve.
Yeah, the abuse will come. Be patient. The abuse will start flying towards it. So Ross Gray against Killerwan, 421 to 319. Sure, Gary, look, you were there.
Oh, geez,
what was this game like to watch?
First 20-25 minutes, I wouldn't say it was poor. It was poor from Ross Gray. They just weren't at the races. Killerwan, Bill was just in the pocket. He was Tom Brady there for first 20-25 minutes, and Ross Gray were just letting him do what he wanted. Killerwan were running the ball out from the back, and they were just spraying it to Cian Kelly, Cian Darcy. Cian O'Kelly was very good. Cian Darcy, obviously, his two goals were class. Then all of a sudden, myself and Dennis said it on commentary, like, Shane Fletcher needs to get into this game or Ross Gray are screwed. And then all of a sudden, he obviously didn't hear us, but it was like he did. He got that goal and he just burnt Owen Hogan. I felt sorry for Owen, but he would have burnt anyone. And then boom, that was it. Just they took off from there, and it was the real Ross Gray that from last year, the one that got to the Munster final. They were frightening. But it was just they were going at such a pace. Killerwan couldn't stop them, and Conor Cleary got a savage goal to bring it back to 3 points. And I thought that was it. Now they'll push on for the last 7 or 8 minutes, but Jesus, no, there was loads of backbone and spine in that Ross Gray team. I'll tell you that much. And there's loads of hurling there as well. Like Alan Tynan had a quiet day, so he got 1-2 from play. Just sort of look at me nose, like Conor Julia in full forward was unbelievable inside full forward. And yeah, I was just very impressed with Conor Sheedy as well, wing back lads. Jesus, he was frightening. I mean, like, he probably gave Shane Fletcher a run for the money for man the match. But no, I was delighted for Ross Gray. But look, it just goes to show the standard of the championship. Last year's county champion's gone.
Yeah, I was just going to say that to you, Shane. Like, so obviously come to the positives of Ross Gray, but for Killerwan, it's been a very sobering year.
Yeah, track 3, include the North quarter final, 3 games, 3 losses. Like, so it just shows you like the fine margins. Like, or if you're slightly off it in Tipperary, you can go from winning matches to losing matches. We saw them last year while they were deserving county champions. They could have been knocked out on a good few occasions, like even in the quarter final against Toom and the final against Killadang, like they were comfortable enough in the semi against Upperchurch, but they're probably. I suppose the injuries just didn't help. While they were back to full strength at the weekend, look, there's no doubt Niall O'Mara wasn't at 100%. Craig Morgan wasn't at 100. Cian O'Kelly coming back from the States. Like last year, they had everyone there and they were gelled. While this year, they looked like they're trying to find their form. And look, I thought their performance on Sunday probably could have been up there nearly with their best of the campaign, but it just wasn't enough. As Ross Gray found a new level. And look, we all know, look, there's no shortage of hurlers in Ross Gray. Like they have loads of stickmen, and like you think if the weather holds up over the next while, like Ross Gray should really kick on, like, and like they're going to take a lot of confidence in that. Like they're safe from relegation, and like they will not fear Toomevara in the slightest in their last round game. So like they will be going to top the group and get into the quarterfinal direct. Like so, and I think they have every chance, because like they would know. Look, they've been playing in A level up along at all the grades, like so, and they'll know each other pretty well. So like it's a great spot for Ross Gray to be in.
Yeah, Group 3 then, Lockmore 127, Holy Cross Ballycahill 320, not Lockmore 128 as the scoreboard had said. This was fairly dramatic stuff, Shane, and you're more inclined to say that the Holy Cross Ballycahill sideline should have been aware that there was 1 point in it rather than 2, and I know they were lofting in ball late on, and they had opportunities to just pop it over and level it. So you're saying the sideline should have known themselves?
It's 100%, and like the Holy Cross sideline, because look, the scoreboard is really there for the supporters. It's not the official score. The official score is with the referee. Like, and if you like, it's like any of us. We've all been on sidelines. If you think there's a scoring problem, you mentioned it to the linesman, and generally the linesman will always approach the referee during the game and said, "Can you double check the score?" Or I don't know why Holy Cross didn't do that. If they knew standing over the last free, hand on heart, that they were 1 point down instead of 2, like they really should have they should have clarified it with the referee before they stood over the last free, like, because look, it could potentially be damaging that point. It's like if they lose to Templederry and Upper Church win against Lockmore, they're out. Like they're out of the championship. Like so this like if they were on 3 points this weekend after round 2 instead of 2 points, like they're practically in the knockout. They're in the knockout stages. Like so, as good as like so. No, 100%. Like Holy Cross, like you think of all the stats guys and maybe stuff on the sideline. Somebody's got to have the right score. I'm sure any of the media who were at the game would have had the right score. Like so. Yeah, it has to come down on I think Holy Cross should have been aware of what the right score was.
Yeah, well, I'd be more saying that someone in the backroom team should probably have the score or be appointed to it, because like we've been in the all three of us have been on the side watching matches, and you're sort of panicking yourself. Do I have the right scoreline, or is it the scoreboard that's right when there has been issues? So I think a manager has enough to be looking at without having to try and tick off the score.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, but there's somebody like
someone.
There must have been somebody within the Holy Cross backroom team who was a bit member. Who, like, there's always somebody there within a backroom team who thinks, okay, something is not right there. Why did the score jump from 122 to 124? Like somebody's got to be aware of that.
Yeah,
I come here and Silas jumping in there. I think this is a bigger issue than it's probably made out of. Like, I think it's a thunder and disgrace what happened. Like the players, like we've all been involved playing and coaching. The work that goes in, that's a massive draw against probably one of the favourites for the county champions or for the county championship. The PRO, the chairman, the secretary, whoever, that word should have got to the players on the field, the sideline, the whole fucking lot, that this scoreboard is wrong. Like I remember doing a Junior B league game. For the Mines a couple of years ago, I was doing the Twitter updates. Tina Shannon was doing the scoreboard. The ref had the game wrong. This was a Junior B League game, and we made war to the ref to correct it in his notes. He was wrong. So like, I just think this is something that has to keep highlighted, because you like the Holy Cross could be gone. They could go through, or could be in relegation because of this. So I just think it's a thunder and disgrace what happened to the players last weekend. So fingers crossed it doesn't happen to anyone else later on in the championship.
Yeah, well, let's look at some positives from Holy Cross. I'll bring it back to you, Gary. 1-6 for Cathal Barrett, 1-5 of that from play up the field. Like, is he going to start getting noticed now by Liam Cahill in terms of what he's doing?
Well, I'm sure Liam is watching on, but I suppose we're probably short on backs as it is. We probably plenty of attacking options, but like against.
Actually, enough, Gary, to jump in. Barry Heffernan operating in the forwards, Cathal Barrett operating in the forwards, when Tipper shy of a few backs.
That's it, yeah. Barry centre forward for Tipp, Cathal Barrett one wing, and we'll I don't know, will we throw Seamus Kennedy up in the other wing? They're half forward line. Like Cathal against Upperchurch didn't puck a ball. Didn't puck a ball for 35 minutes against Upperchurch, and then all of a sudden, last 25 minutes, he controlled the game from centre forward as well. I really like this Holy Cross team. Again, they remind me again like Toom. They're probably missing one more big player really up front to really kick on to the next level. But look, they've won the world of underage titles. I have no fear for Holy Cross. I think again in the next 2 or 3 years they'll be another superpower. Like at the moment, you probably have 5 really good, maybe 6 teams that can win a county. I'd have themselves in Toom probably just below that. But the next 2 or 3 years, if they keep going the way they're going, they're kicking on and winning Danbreens. But I was very impressed with them again. Lockmore to me, I still think they're probably in second or third gear. They like playing cat and mouse. Like, go on, you see what you score, we'll score more than you, that kind of thing. But come the knockout stages, I think they'll shore up their defence. Like they're giving away a lot at the moment, but no, I like Holy Cross. I like what they're doing. I like their style of hurling, and it's only up for Holy Cross from here.
Yeah, Shane, Lockmore then. I mean, you've kind of mentioned a few times about John Maher not being there, but still they're bubbling nicely.
Yeah, look, maybe the fact that he's not there is maybe leading to some of the goals they've conceded. Like 7 goals conceded in 3 games. So like that's a lot for them. But look, I don't think you'd worry about Lockmore at all yet. Like we've seen it over the years. They get better as the year goes on. Like they have 2 irons in the fire with football as well. Like they just need to just keep the train on the tracks. And look, it's just saw the way they were out hurled in the first half, conceded 3 goals, just didn't panic, got a goal before halftime with Ed Connolly. Second half just came out and just took over. Noel, John McGrath, Liam McGrath, just some of the scores they got from positions, like they were just stroking the ball over the bar for fun. Like they just when they're on it, I think they're I think they're the best team in the county to watch, just the way they can make the ball talk. Like, but look, there's no doubt they have flaws, but look, they're still there. But they still have a job to do. Like they're not quite qualified. Like if Holy Cross and Upper Church win the last round, it goes to score difference, and there's very okay, they're on +9, they're in a good position, but like if they lose by 4 or 5 points, and it suddenly brings Upper Church and Holy Cross back into. But like I think they're in a good position to kick on. Like so, look, and the fact that they lost to Upper Church in the mid semi-final, I do think they'll be keen to try and maybe make up for that. And I think Holy Cross are coming along nicely too. Like performance-wise, they would have been pretty happy with what they got. Okay, they'd be disappointed with maybe how the thing finished and the controversy at the end, but in terms of performance, that's 2 good performances back to back for Holy Cross, and like they'd be favoured to get past Templederry, and that should get them into the quarterfinals, which would be progress for them this year.
Yeah, and Templederry are still alive, but they lost by 5 to Upper Church at the weekend. Not the greatest game, not exactly. We were never going to start the show on this game, really, Gary.
No, but again, Templederry, they're just a team that they have probably 10 really, really good senior club hurlers. Like 10 lads that could make most other teams in the county. They're just missing 4 or 5 lads to kick on to the next level. But again, look, they're in relegation semi-final now. I would not want to meet them, because if there's anyone that has a bit of backbone, again, it's these Templederry boys. They won't lie down. You would imagine they pinpointed this game as the game to get the 2 points on the board. They'd be brutally disappointed, but I wouldn't be fancying them in the last round or into a relegation semi-final either. Again, they're just missing those 3 or 4 players to kick on to the next level, and they still go back to the same well with Christy and Tom. Like the lads are still hurling at a serious level. Like Christy, I'd have Christy probably the best fullback in the county in the last 10-15 years, and he's still going. Like Jesus, Christy's 34. He's a year older than me, I think, and he's hurling like a 21-year-old. Like. But brutally disappointing for Templederry. But again, I wouldn't want to meet them in a knockout game for relegation.
Yeah, no, I saw the first half of this game in Thurles. Like there were 7, I think it was 8-5 or 7-4 up, and I thought that they had a chance right on halftime. That was a key moment. Like if Templederry go in maybe level or a point up, like they can maybe push on. So look. Like Templederry, they need a sort of a miracle. Like if they need to beat Holy Cross by probably a large margin, maybe, to try and get out of relegation. So, but I tell you what, lads, if there's a pound for pound, I think the best forward, I think, in the county club hurling is Sean Ryan. He
100%,
unbelievable. Like he's so. In fairness to the guy, what he's done to his body over the last 12 months when he's in with Tipp, he's incredible. He's in incredible shape. Like he scored 1-5 at the weekend, And I'd say he must have driven 5 or 6 wides. He was nearly on any time the ball came in his direction, he was nearly unplayable. And I'd say from his point of view, he'd be disappointed he didn't finish with maybe 1-8 or 1-9 from play. He's just, I just think he's just so exciting. He just looks like danger every time he gets the ball in his hand.
Okay, so then we'll move on to the Group 4. Borrisley 223, Kildangan 125. We all know the story. Brendan Maher went off at half-time, wasn't feeling well, came back on late on and scored that goal into the top corner. More drama in the Tipperary Championship, Gary.
Yeah, like Sky Sports are doing their big kickback to the Premier League, the greatest show on earth. I think the greatest show on earth was inside McDonald Park on Sunday. Like, this was just ride or over stuff. Like, a lot of people I've spoken to since, they thought he was just taken off injured, but sure he didn't. Like, the backstory to it's unbelievable. Like, he fell ill, fainted or for whatever it was, and came back on after passing HIA. Borrisley, just, I've never seen a team just capitulate in the second half. But then again, the real Killangan showed up in the second half. 13-point swing. Dan just bursting through. How he wasn't taken down Sean Kavanagh style by Killangan, I don't know. But then for Brendan to finish that, like, there was some finish. And like, as anyone watching club or myself and Dennis probably got lost in the moment a small bit, but it was like I was a Borrisley man. The way the goal went in, it was just everyone just lost themselves, and everyone below us in the bank. It was just the greatest drama of all time, and so the whole country is talking about it this week, which is great, and so it's great for the club championship. But from like talk about the game of two halves, like John Kenny and Pat Short is unbelievable. It's the first half and the second half. I've never seen Killangan play as bad, and this is Killangan's first defeat in the group stage since 2017. It was the worst I've ever seen. I'd say any Killangan team at any level. But then Borrisley, the real Borrisley showed up then. But I don't know, lads, you could spend the whole show talking about this game and about the first half and the second half. But yeah, Jerry Kelly, I think, moving to 10. Jerry was very good. Very good. And he ran Eddie Ryan close, ran the match. But then again, if Killangan had won the game, they probably would have got man the match. But I don't know where to start with this. So you take it from here.
Yeah, like we've seen some dramatic last-minute goals even this year. I suppose Killian Buckley for Kilkenny. Yeah, I couldn't believe the space that Brendan had, and it's not like he completely wound up. It was almost like he passed it into the top corner.
Yeah, just sort of placed it in the top corner. I didn't. It wasn't too much power with it, but like it was strange to say. I was listening to it in the car and the commentary, and it was a weird thing, and it wasn't just the fact that Brendan coming back on seemed to settle Borrisley, but it was more the fact as soon as they went behind, they actually started to hurl again. It was this weird thing that actually the 10-point lead at halftime spooked them. And of course, it does happen like that if Kildangan get a good start to the second half and they start chipping away, and then you start getting nervous. And of course, Borrisley then went 1 or 2 points down, and then suddenly they started to win a few frees again and getting the ball into the forwards. And there was nearly just sense in the radio thinking, geez, these boys are going to get a goal or they're going to get a point or something to win, to at least take a draw out of the match. And like from them to win the game in that scenario was incredible. Like they would have been sick if they lost the game from being in a 10-point lead at half time. But look, I think it just shows you from Borrisley point of view how important Brendan is, just his presence on the field. Like he just the whole thing seemed to settle down when he was there, and it was a bit of chaos when he wasn't. And but from Kildangan point of view, God, to go from being so poor in the first half to being I thought they were devastating in the second half. Just very, very like when they're on it, I still think they're the best team in the county, but like they just go like it's symptomatic of them at the moment. You nearly don't know what you're going to get from Kildangan now from one half to the next. I say at their best, I think they're the best team in the county, but when they have their lull periods, they can be got at. Like, so I think that's the thing Kildangan are going to be focusing at. If they can get the second half performance every day they go out, they'll be very, very hard to stop this year.
But aren't Burrs kind of the same as well? Started off quite well against Clonoulty. Didn't get the scores on the board, then fell behind, then had to come back again. Even go back to the north against Kildangan. Started off pretty well, controlling the game, and then ended up, 13 men against 14, ended up conceded the last 6 points of the game as well. So I don't know if you can rely on either team from one end of a half to another, Gary.
No, and that's why I wouldn't have Dangan as my number 1 or number 2 or Bursley up there either. They're just not that, I suppose, that consistency. But like when Bursley turn on, they're frightening. Killangan, I'd agree with Shane. They are the best team in the county. When they go 100%, they are the best team. I don't think they will be touched. But like just on Bursley, in fairness, like Brendan ran out in the field and then obviously he was taken off. So the sub wasn't made at half time. Like the whole place just went like an eerie silence. So Bursley probably panicked, and Philip They did panic there a small bit. Like Dan went back centre back, Jerry went up wing forward for a few minutes. The whole thing just fell apart, and Killangan got their run on them. So Jerry went back then centre back for the last kind of 5-6 minutes. Brendan came back on, and they just got their shape again. And I think Eddie got 1 or 2 frees just to settle things down a small bit. And then look, the goal went in, and that was it. But I don't know. It was just like Dan O'Mara got a point from the sideline. Jeez, it was unbelievable. He actually tackled Jerry Kelly. But I suppose I wouldn't say the funny thing was, Willie Connors came back off the bench from injury, which was great for Dangan, but he actually gave away the free that led to the goal. So, it's when you're talking about your luck isn't in. So, but I say Killangan are just kicking themselves that they didn't do a professional foul, as you call it, on Dan as he was running through. But yeah, look, I still fully expect Dangan to win their last round game. And once they get into the stadium, to me, they're a proper stadium team. Once they get into the stadium, I think they'll be hard stopped to.
And speaking of which, Bursley have to go to the stadium against Thurles in the final game. And so there's been times in this championship where I've been kind of worried that Burrs are on the wrong way out. Actually, coincidentally, I'm wearing a bit of maroon today as well. But like all of a sudden now, Burrs are looking in decent shape, albeit got through in shaky circumstances. But you were saying beforehand that you're not sure that they would have wanted to play in the stadium against Thurles.
Probably not. But then they scored 323 last weekend. I just think maybe the fact that Jerry at centre back, and particularly putting Dan back in the half forward line, I think we said it last week that the loss of Niall Kenny in that forward line is huge. I just think they need a physical presence up there that will bring Devaney and Kevin Maher and some of the nice ball players around him, Eddie Ryan, into the game. And I think it was no surprise that Dan going to centre forward for the first time in 3 games. Bursley hit anything over the 20-point mark. I think they're going to have to go that. Maybe the fact that putting Dan back to centre back and Jerry in the half forward line, they had their poor 20-minute spell against Killangan. So they're probably hit on it now that, okay, Dan has to be in the forwards, Jerry has to be in the backs, and that's the way we're going to go from here. And look, I think Bursley have the forwards to trouble Thurles Arsenal. I don't. Like I saw their match against Clonoulty on Sunday evening. I thought Thurles' backs played well, but they're not lightning quick. If you get in behind them, they can be got at. Like Thurles they're still not clicking fully. Like they hit some terrible wides on Sunday evening against Clonoulty. If they didn't win that game, they would have been kicking themselves, because like they had some great looks, like, and just the radar is off. They're not quite clicking yet, but look, it's a brilliant final round. Like you have Bursley and SARS in the stadium, and then you have out the road in the rag, you have Clonoulty and Kildangan on Sunday week. Like so, like all 4 teams could still win the group. All 4 teams can still finish bottom. Like so, like then, geez, like it could go to score difference too to decide it. Like so, it's brilliantly poised.
Yeah, it sure is. So the way, Gary, the way that Thurles had capitulated, I suppose you could put it, against Kildangan, how big of a boost was this for them to get 120 to 117 win over Clonoulty? And obviously the likes of Ronan was back and David Corbett.
I watched the game, and you know, I was very disappointed in the quality of the game. I thought Clonoulty, the game was there for taking for Clonoulty. Again, they're just missing another forward. Kyle Burke basically did on his own the second half. I know Jack Ryan went off injured, but they're missing another marquee forward. Look, obviously losing Connor and Timmy Hammersley, massive blows, but I don't know. Again, I just thought Thurles were just in second or third gear, and they just turned it on for the last 2 or 3 minutes to get the extra scores that they needed. They flattered deceived yet again. I just don't know what to make of SARS. Like, I wouldn't have them in my top 4 or top 5 for the county, even in the stadium. Like I fully expect Burrs to beat SARS in the stadium. And look, I think Dangan will beat Clonoulty handy enough, and I don't mean any disrespect whatsoever. I just think the Dangan will be so sore after last Sunday that they'll be out to make a point against Clonoulty. But no, I'd be calling Bursley to beat the SARS. I haven't been impressed with SARS at all. But again, they probably are just going through the motions. They're like Lockmore. Until they get to knockout, you don't see the real team. But I don't know. I think they're lacking a bit of strength and depth as well, Sarah's. I was very disappointed in them on Sunday.
Yeah, like we were saying it a couple of weeks ago, Shane, there's probably, like, I just don't know if I'd be fully convinced of the balance of the Sars team in terms of, like, they've like big physical players, like Dennis Maher's playing full back, which I thought a bit odd when I saw it. Ronan Maher obviously been back centre back's a big boost, but there's a lot of big physical players, but I don't know, is there the right blend of speed in there?
Yeah, probably a bit one pace, a small bit, and I think Tommy Doyle and Shawnee Butler coming off the bench in the second half, they were the ones that were sort of kick-started them for home. It was like they don't have a real, like, I suppose what Conor Lanigan is probably there, or is it Jack Lanigan? I think Conor Lanigan, yeah, he's there probably. One second, I'm just going to pull up the match report here. I can't remember.
It is Conor, yeah.
There's just two of them, so 1 second there. Like they're just that Conor Lanigan, yeah, he started to be the quick guy, but like you have Paddy Creed, and he's sort of one pace, he's more powerful presence. You have Conor, like I suppose they don't really have that Pa Burke kind of forward they would have had maybe in their prime, like, so. But that's not to say, like, they still have the talent, like they could click on a day and maybe hit only 3 or 4 wides and destroy a team. But yeah, look, I think they'll have been pleased to see that their final game is in the stadium. Look, I know they have the preliminary for the quarter final to fall back on, but you don't really want to have to use it, because it probably means you've struggled in the group and you're coming into knockout stage and still looking for your best form. But look, I think it'll be a right good game now with them and Borsley. Just with Borsley have those Devaney's and the Eddie Ryans, the guys that have a bit of speed that can go at that Thurles backs. Like, they're not the quickest set of backs in the world. Like Ronan and Dennis, I thought had big last 15 minutes, but if you turn them and get them going the other way, they're not blisteringly fast. But yeah, no, look, this group is brilliantly poised. You could make a case for any four of them going through and any four of them knocking out. I wouldn't rule out Clonalty yet. Like they could produce
a beaten Burrs
yet.
Yeah, and they should have beaten Burrs. Shane, it's time to serve up a bit of abuse for you, because you know you're going to get it with your second round power rankings here. Do you want to go ahead and justify it for us? Now, in brackets after the teams' names is where they were in the second, or in the previous round, the first power rankings. So a lot more. They're at number 1 now. They were number 2 the last time. Take it away there, Shane.
Yeah, I'll start from the bottom up. So like my bottom 3 haven't changed because they all lost at the weekend. So I wasn't changing them. My Carkey slipped down, even though their performance is quite decent. They slipped down. Upper Church, even though they won, but their win was against Temple-Area. Roscrea have gone up. They've only gone up 2 spots, like, but I think just the beat 15th ranked Killer One. So like, while it was a great win for Holy Cross, I just on the basis of that, I couldn't move them up any more. I thought Holy Cross stay steady at 10. I thought the performance was quite good. It was pretty good in defeat to Lockmore, who I have number 1. You've Clonalty dropped from 9 to 7. Mullinahone dropped from 6 to 8. Narrow, decent performance against Drum, narrow loss. Thurles, again, I thought their performance was unconvincing, but they still rise because of the win from 9 to 7. Killarney dropped from 1 to 6. Just that inconsistent nature that I have. That's where I have them at. Bursley just ahead of them just because of the head-to-head at the moment. Like, they beat them at the weekend. Toomevara at 4, 2 wins from 2, going pretty well. Nina at 3, even though they've won 1 and lost 1 in the group, I have them at 3 because they were their North champions and they beat Toomevara in the North, so that's why I have them ahead of Toom. Drum at 2, they beat Nina at the group stage, so that's the deciding factor there. And number 1, Lockmore Castellini, 2 wins out of 2. I still think they're pretty strong, even though, and look, I have them ahead of Drum because they beat Drum in the mid championship. So that's my top 16 at the moment.
Yeah, so Gary, I'll let you have at it there. I'll put it back up on the screen as well, just so you can look at it again. But where's he upsetting you the most?
Cheers, a fair fall from grace for Killangan for losing by a point. They get dropped 5 places. I'd say they were getting a fair bit of abuse from the lads in Puckon there. I'd have it Nina, Lockmore and Dangan. That'd be my first 3 anyway. I'd probably agree with the bottom, the kind of the second 6 or second 8. Yeah, big fall from grace there for Killangan. I still reckon, once again, to stadium, they'll be absolutely fine. I still think it's Like, I know I have Nina as my favourite at the moment. I think there's something different in Nina this year. There's a bit of bite, there's a bit of steel, there's proper backbone there. Like, the conditions in Dala on Saturday were absolutely chronic, like brutal. And usually, like, you question Nina and I suppose their character over the last couple of years. They've been in positions where they should have won games or won county finals and they haven't. I have this feeling around Nina differently this year. So no, I would agree with most of it, but yes, no, I definitely wouldn't agree with Killangan falling so far down the ladder. So we'll have a word with Shane.
Yeah,
after
it's the only one, but it's just I think maybe I'm a big fan of Killanang. It's just the inconsistent nature of them sometimes. Like, to be so good against ours and like poor in the first half on Sunday, but brilliant in the second half. It's like I could probably make a case for them being probably number 4 maybe, but I don't think any higher than that, because look,
and like you have Thurles there 7 and you've Toom and 4. Do you think if Toom and Stars met today, Toom would beat Stars?
Probably not. Probably not, but it's just a bit of what I've seen. Like,
Yeah.
Like, I suppose that's the thing. Like, you can only beat what's in front of you, and like Thurles have lost heavily to Killadang and weren't wonderful, I thought, on Sunday against Clonoulty. Then in the mids, they beat Upper Church and they beat Holy Cross. Like, so, like, and I'd have Holy Cross and Upper Church in my bottom 8. Like, so were the nature and Bracken. So, like, were the nature of those mid-championship wins very strong? I'd argue they weren't.
If Kildangan get through, like, will anyone want to face them in the knockout stages, Shane? Like, all of a sudden they could be really flying up this chart.
Probably not. As Gary said, like, they're really well-built stadium team. Like, it's just, I think they'll accept themselves, like, this lack of, like, I think last Sunday is a perfect example, like, that they can be poor but outstanding in the one game. Like, if they can put 2 halves back to back in the next 4 matches, I do think they're the best team in it. Like, so, and they still have time. Like, Willie Connors will get another 2 weeks. He'll come back and he'll be in the starting team. Brian Malachny is getting stronger by the week. Like, so didn't have a great game on Sunday, but like, he'll be better. I thought it was interesting. I think the fact that their game is not in the stadium. I know just that the Clonoulty would have, I think, preferred it to be in the Rag. So I think they'll have it all to do to beat Clonoulty. Kildangan and Clonoulty games have been pretty tight over the years. Like, very, very little between them. Like, they know each other pretty well. So not a foregone conclusion there by any means.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the final thing, you've been very good with your time, Gary. I'll just run through the team of the week and see what you make of this. This is Shane's team of the week. So in goals, Kieran Short of Upper Church Drumban, Stevie Nolan of Drummond-Inch, cornerback, Enda Heflin, Clonoulty, and Liam Ryan Drifter of Burris Lee. Halfback line, Conor Whelan of Mullinahone, Jerry Kelly, Burris, Ronan Maher, Thurles. Midfield of Sam O'Farrell, Nina, and Johnny Ryan of Drum. Then the half forwards, Alan Tynan, Cathal Barrett, and John McGrath, 3 county lads. And the full forward line, Darren McCarthy of Toom, Sean Ryan, Tebblederry, and Shane Fletcher, Ross Gray. I know it's hard to think of every performance off the top of your head, Gary, now, but is there anything that's jumping out at you?
I would say, and again, no disrespect, Alan, like, he's got 1-2. He was good now, but he didn't stand out to me for if I was picking a team of the week now. Again, you probably don't have to open the screen there, but no, I probably agree with most of it now. Darragh McCarthy and Shane Fletcher were the 2 standouts for me anyway for the weekend. Darragh kicking off Friday night and then Shane probably finishing things off on Sunday. No, I'd agree with that. No, I didn't agree with his power rankings, but no, I give him a clap in the back for that. I give him a clap in the back for that one.
Okay, well, look, Gary, you've been great with your time, and I'm sure you're enjoying all the matches on Clubber, and you will be again at the weekend. So we'll hopefully chat to you again soon.
Sound, lads. Thanks very much. Talk to you soon.
Okay, so great to have Gary there. So moving on to the Premier Intermediate then. I'll start off with Group 1, get your thoughts on it. Ballina 318, Moyne Tubby 119, and Cashel Cormac's 128, St. Mary's 219.
Yeah, good win for Ballina, and it was great to see Stephen O'Brien back. Comes on in the middle of the second half, and within 20 seconds he's the ball in the back of the net. So, like, after the guts of 3 months out with a shoulder injury, great to see him coming back. And look, it keeps Ballina alive in the race for the quarterfinals. Like, they'll have it tough now in their last game against Cashel. I saw a good bit of their Cashel game against St. Mary's on Sunday, and like, I thought this was a very enjoyable game of hurling. Very, real quick, intense hurling, in good intensity. I thought there was a real edge to it in Care. And look, great win for Cashel. Okay, there was a lot made of the 3 players that were missing, but like they got Conor O'Dwyer back from America, and he helped steady up the defense. I thought like they're a real, I think they're a real up and coming team. Like they're probably maybe lacking a bit of, what would you say, guys over the age of 25. Maybe that might come against them in the back end of the year, but like talent wise, look, the Connollys, James Cummins wing back, Paddy Fahey, Ger Brown, Aaron Brown, the Bonners, like, geez, they're loaded, and like now they're in a brilliant position now where when the guys are back from suspension, they can sit on the bench. Like they don't like Nathan Ryan and Devin Ryan particularly are probably starters, but like they have the management, Ollie Moore and Andy Maloney have, like, they can more or less say, lads, if your discipline doesn't improve, you can stay on the sideline. So like they're going to have to buy in with the team now, or just they're going to spend a lot of time on the bench. So like I think great. I was very impressed with Cashel on Sunday. Like, and if they get the boys back and like they have a bench now, like they have 3 guys to come back who weren't able to use the subs. Like they look to have a very, very deep squad.
Yeah, the second group then, Aero Gannacarty impressive against Sean Tracy's 22 points to 111, and Carrick Swan beating Thurles' second team narrowly 213 to 18 points.
Yeah, last puck of the game, free from Gavin O'Halloran, won the game for Swan. So like they're in the box seat and 3 points, but then this is another one of those groups where any team could finish first and any team could finish bottom. So I suppose the big one was probably Annacarty bouncing back from the loss to SARS to get the win over Sean Tracy. So like they're back on the horse. Like I did say last week that losing to SARS in the first round isn't a bad thing, because that's when SARS are at their strongest. And look, SARS were missing, I think James Armstrong was held back to play senior on Sunday, so they're starting to be weakened slightly. So but then you have Annacarty against Carrick Swan in the last game, so you're probably thinking if there's a winner in that, the loser goes out. So that's probably a contender between Swans and Annacarty go out. So that's a tight one, and you're probably looking at maybe Sarsfield probably would be strong enough to get over Sean Tracy's in the other game in that group.
Yeah. Okay. The third group then, Burgess 120, Newport 11, so that was convincing, and Clonakilty 218, Silvermines 13. So Silvermines not really putting up a huge scoreline there. Actually, that as were Newport as well. So convincing enough for both Burgess and Clonakilty.
Yeah. Look, as convincing Burgess was, like Newport were very, very poor. Like, and look, the fact that, look, I suppose they had goal chances in the game. Ronan Tucker made 2 brilliant saves in the first half, and he also saved a penalty from Conor O'Mahony. So look, at those goals go in, maybe Newport get a bit of traction, but like Burgess, very convincing. They're in the knockout stages. Okay, they need at least a point against Clonakilty to top the group, so like they're in rude health. I suppose Silvermines, look, they're only 2 points down after 53 minutes against Clonakilty, and they conceded 1-6 without reply against 14 men. Like, so just like great win for Clonakilty. I think with score difference, I'd say they're as good as true in second place. And then you have Newport and Silvermines. Looks like at this stage, just the form both teams are carrying, that's going to decide who goes into relegation. And like that's a sickener for both clubs who would be maybe looking at maybe knockout stage hurling. Like, so look, the year hasn't gone well for either Newport or Silvermines at the moment. But like
the year's going well for Laura. 323 to Killinall, I should say, is 222. And you know, when we were talking a couple of weeks ago, we were saying this is arguably number 1 and number 2 in the Premier Intermediate. So great victory for your boys there, Laura. And then also Gurtnahoog, Glengool, 24 points, Portrue 118. There's 4 good teams in this group, really.
Yeah, I think the Laura Killinall game probably lived up to its billing. Probably not a high scoring, very, very enjoyable game. Maybe lacked a small bit of intensity in terms of maybe a small bit more defending, but like some great scores on both sides. Like Colin Fogarty, Niall McIntyre, Bonner had big games for Laura. Dean O'Connor, Michael Dial, Owen Shaw, corner forward. God, he caused me fits all day every time the ball went into him. Like, so, look, I thought it was a really good game. I thought, look, from a Laura point of view, look, we were thrilled. Like, like there were stages in the game, like we went 8-3 down. It looked like we were under pressure. We hit back to go 2-9 to 10 points up at half time. Got a bad start to the second half. Ended up going 3 points behind. And then reeled off 1-6 without reply. So look, there's the good and bad parts for both time seeds where both Killinall and Lura both got periods of purple patches and then purple patches against them. And just we got our final purple patch at the right time to win by 4 points. But look, I don't think Killinall, just talking to the few of them after, look, they would have been pretty happy with, I think, their level of performance. And look, I'm sure no more than ourselves, a few things to tidy up maybe defensively and stuff. But look, they still have bubbles to come back as well. So like you think if we were to meet again, like they should be slightly stronger. But like they have I suppose Laura, we're through as group winners at this stage. So I had the final round against Port, so who are guaranteed for relegation playoffs. But look, Porto will be using that game massively to build on their decent performance against Gorton, who I thought they were unlucky to lose for a finish. Like there's only Gorton who just finally found a rhythm towards the end to win by 3 points. And probably I didn't think Gorton who were as good as they were against Lura, even in defeat the previous week. So but then like that sets up the winner takes all with Killinall. Like that's a local derby between two cross-divisional teams, so that'll be tasty. But like, whoever loses that game is going to be in a preliminary quarterfinals. So there's guaranteed to be one preliminary quarterfinal, Premier Intermediate involving either.
And then Group 2, or sorry,
in the Premier Intermediate. The only thing we know in Premier Intermediate at the moment is that Lura and Burgess are guaranteed in the knockout stages, and Porto will definitely be in relegation. So the other 13, 14 teams still have things to play for going into the final round.
Yeah, I wonder if there's still people out there who, wanted back the old way where we were often seeing just hammerings across the board.
I can't. Like you can, like the problem with the old system was that, and you still see it a small bit in the West, where you see you still have Clonolty playing Premier Intermediate teams in the West Championship, and Clonolty hockeyed both Anacarty and Cashel. But now that you have teams playing at their own level, there's very, very few hockeyings. Okay, you might get the odd game where maybe one team plays very well, another team has an off day, and you could get a 10 or 11 point game, but they're I suppose you don't see an awful lot of them now, particularly in the county championships side of things.
Yeah, intermediate championship then, Carrickdavins 216, Drum 119 a draw, Arravale Rovers 119, and Knockavilla Kickham's 21 points. So again, really tight between 2 matches. 1 point is the separation between the 2 matches.
Yeah, and Drum have drawn 2 games. Arravale Rovers with Johnny Ryan back, great win over Kickham's. So again, that group finally pies. We have Davins on 3, Drum and Arravale on 2, and Kickham's on 1. So last round nicely set up.
Yeah, okay. Then Group 2, Killadangan 116, Golden Kilfeacle 114, Cappawhite 221, Ballingarry 219. I'll just run through the Group 3 and 4 results as well, and you can touch on your highlights. Kilsheelan and Kilcash 124, Shannon Rovers 112, so that was convincing. And Borlahan 319, which is 28 points, to Moneygall's 125, also 28 points. Group 4 then, Ballybacon Grange 15 points, Upchurch Drumban 13, and Burskane 222, Skeena Inky 15 points.
Yeah, no, I sort of did from my own head, I did a sort of an intermediate power rankings, and after Borlahan and Moneygall drawn at the weekend, I'd actually have them as joint first, because they can't be separated. Both are North champion, both are divisional champions. They ended up playing a cracking game at the weekend, ended in a draw. For Borlahan were 7 up at half time, but then Moneygall just stormed back into it, but then Borlahan came and got a late goal and looked like they'd snatched it, but Moneygall got a late equaliser. Probably a draw was a fair result. And then you look at Kilsheelan, big win over Shannon Rovers, and my power rankings in that, I have those 3 teams in the same group, 1, 2, and 3. So they're going pretty well. But then another big win for Borsakane now. I don't think it's the hardest group they're in, but Borsakane have had 3 huge wins. I think under Borsakane are very, very good. and very dangerous. And you have Kappa White, they're building nicely, like another good win over Ballingarry. So I think they're the dark horse. But I think I'd be surprised if the intermediate champion doesn't come from the 5 clubs I've mentioned there.
Okay, and then there's football, of course, back this weekend. We might run through some of the fixtures. I'll go through each group and you can sort of touch on them then. So Group 1, Clonmel Commercials against Aero Gannacarty, and Golden Kilfeacle will meet Boyle Rovers.
Drummond Inch, are playing Kilsheelan. No, that's the other team.
Oh, sorry,
yeah. The football is back. So you probably fancy Commercials, and then Carty won the first round, but I think Commercials will probably have a bit too much strength there, and Drum Kilsheelan. Interesting to see what Drum do. Like that, they're qualified in the hurling. Like they can probably go hard at the football for a couple of weeks now if they wanted to. But Kilsheelan, I thought played pretty well in the narrow loss to Commercials in the first round, and they're going well in the hurling, so they have confidence. So I think Kilsheelan will probably, just their greater pedigree will probably get them through there.
Yeah, Group 2 then, Ardfinnan against Lockmore and Ballina, who are obviously the upstarts in the senior championship against Moycarkey.
Yeah, like this is really good games, and this one I get Ballina and Moycarkey control the results there, the surprise factors. You probably think, look, Ballina scored 6-11 in the first round, and like Stephen O'Brien, you probably think if he got 15 minutes the last day, he's probably going to see some action on Saturday. So in Borrisoleigh, so I'd fancy Ballina to win that. And look, Ardfinnan against Lockmore, 2 traditional powers in football. The loser is probably heading for relegation, and like when you think about 3 teams remaining relegated this year, so. Big Bame, and I think Lockmore backs her to the wall. I'd be backing them, but they've got to find their shooting boots. They only scored 7 points against Moycarkey the last day. Ardfinnan scored 3-13 in a losing effort. So I think, would I be surprised if Lockmore lost again? No, but I just, on the basis, look, I'm going to trust them that they're going to find a bit of urgency to win this game.
Group 3 then, Killinall, Upperchurch and Arravale Rovers against Care.
Killinall, Upperchurch, 2 good wins in the first round. Killinall beat a poor Arravale team, so I think they're going to get a stiffer test from Upperchurch. So I think we'll probably have a better feel for Killinall after the weekend. I might just give them the slight edge there. And Care against Arravale. Arravale seem to be struggling a bit in football. Johnny Ryan will be back, but I think Care probably have slightly recent form, and maybe Care just to squeeze through there.
Yeah, and finally in Group 4 then, Moyle Rovers against Rockwell Rovers and Ballyporeen against JK Brackens.
Brackens Ballyporeen is a winner's tie from the first round. I suppose the Brackens are out of the hurling contention. They can really go ball-headed now for football, and we know how they got to a county final a few years ago, regular semi-finalists. I think they'll have too much for Ballyporeen. And the other game, as you say, is Moyle Rovers against Rockwell. After losing to Brackens in the first game, Moyle Rovers really need this one, because if they lose, they could end up in relegation. That would be a massive fall for Moyle Rovers, but I think that they should be too strong for Rockwell on Friday evening.
It really is all go. You've some memory on you to be able to think of what's happening across the board and all these.
I don't have the pictures in front of me, but I know it's brilliant. I'm even after getting a WhatsApp from a manager of one of the clubs started giving out to have. I'm after giving their secret away of their form. I won't say who it is, but I know it's it's fantastic to have the club championship flying as it is, and not to mention the Camogie is starting at the weekend. It was after the senior championship starting off on Friday night. You've fought Clonoti against Kickham's, and then you've Sunday Drum against Burgess O'Hara, Nina against Silvermines, Borrisoleigh against Cashel. That's I think, even though Drum and O'Hara have dominated for the last decade or so, I think Clonoti and the likes of Borrisoleigh are really coming. So I think that's going to be a fascinating championship as well over the next few weeks. So look, loads of games, and just get out and support your club. There's some really great action at the moment.
Absolutely, and don't forget to pick up a copy of the Nina Guardian. That's in shops at the moment. Shane, we'll see you again next week.
Yeah, be kind to me on the criticism for the power rankings.
Oh, you can. Yeah, well, that won't happen. I know from experience.